Eleanor was scared of the billionaire's mother until one janitor lady left her speechless. The sound of expensive heels clicking on marble echoed through the lobby of Sterling Tech Industries like a warning bell. Security guards straightened their uniforms. Executives gripped their phones with white knuckles. Even the receptionist held her breath. Eleanor Blackwell had arrived. She wasn't the CEO. She didn't own a single share of the billion-dollar tech company. But everyone in that Manhattan skyscraper feared her more than any board member, because she was the mother of Billionaire founder Nathaniel Blackwell, and one complaint from her perfectly painted lips had ended careers at the highest levels. 3 vice presidents had been fired last quarter after her observations. But what happened on this particular morning would prove that the person mopping the floors on the 42nd floor had more power than anyone in the boardroom could imagine. Eleanor Blackwell wasn't famous for charity galas or magazine covers. She was infamous for walking into her son's company unannounced, running her finger across surfaces executives never noticed, and finding flaws that somehow always led to terminations. Her monthly quality inspections arrived without warning, like hurricanes nobody could predict. Her standard was simple: nothing was ever good enough. 7 personal assistants had quit in 2 years. Employees whispered that she enjoyed watching people squirm, that losing her husband 15 years ago had turned her heart to ice wrapped in Chanel. But on the 4th floor, in a supply closet, most executives walked past without a glance, worked the only person who would dare challenge her, without saying a single word. Before we reveal what happened when these 2 women collided, if you believe that real power comes from character, not bank accounts, and that dignity can't be bought with money, do me 4 quick favors. First, hit that like button to prove kindness still matters in this world. Second, comment below where you're watching from. Let's build a community that believes in respect over status. Third, share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. And fourth, subscribe and turn on notifications, because these are the stories that remind us what truly matters when everything else is noise. Your support helps these messages reach millions who need hope right now. Now, let's continue. Rosa Elena Martinez was 52 years old, and she'd been cleaning the floors of Sterling Tech Industries for 14 years. She worked the night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 6 days a week, wearing a navy blue uniform with a name patch most people never bothered to read. Her routine never changed. 47 floors, 312 trash bins, 89 executive desks she polished until they reflected the city lights outside windows she'd never sit beside. To everyone else, Rosa was invisible, but Rosa saw everything. She carried a small, worn notebook everywhere. While emptying trash bins, she'd notice things: water stains on ceiling tiles that suggested pipe problems, HVAC units running inefficiently, security camera blind spots in the parking garage. She wrote it all down in careful handwriting, year after year, though nobody ever asked to see it. What those executives didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Rosa had been a certified accountant in Mexico City. She'd studied at Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, graduated with honors, and worked for a respected firm for 9 years. But when she came to America, her credentials meant nothing. Her heavy accent closed doors before she could open her mouth, so she took the only job available, cleaning up after people who never saw her. Every dollar she earned went into an envelope marked Javier's therapy. Her grandson had cerebral palsy. The specialized treatment he needed in Guadalajara cost $1,800 every month, money she could barely afford even working 6 days a week. On her one day off, Rosa didn't rest. She sat in the public library studying for the American CPA exam, determined to pass it in English before she was too old. Rosa Martinez never told anyone she was more qualified than half the executives whose coffee cups she emptied. But Eleanor Blackwell was about to discover what real excellence looks like. That Tuesday morning began like any other for both women, but in worlds separated by more than money. Eleanor woke in her $18 million penthouse overlooking Central Park. Her private chef prepared breakfast. She selected a $4,500 Chanel suit from a closet larger than most apartments. Her chauffeur waited downstairs with the Bentley engine already warm. Her purpose today: arrive at her son's company early, before staff arrived, to inspect the real conditions. Everyone tried to hide from her. Meanwhile, Rosa was finishing her shift. At 6 a.m., exhausted, she rode the subway to Queens. She stopped at the bodega for a $1.50 coffee, her one daily luxury. In her tiny studio apartment, she counted the money in Javier's envelope, $340 short this month. Her hands trembled slightly as she returned the bills. Then she opened her accounting textbook and studied for 2 hours before allowing herself to sleep. These two women were about to collide, and the person everyone thought was powerless would teach the most powerful woman a lesson she'd never forget. Eleanor arrived at Sterling Tech at 5:30 a.m., unprecedented. Even the night security guard looked nervous. She moved through the building like a general inspecting troops, running her white-gloved finger over surfaces, searching for any flaw that would prove her theory. Standards were slipping, people were getting lazy, and only her vigilance kept this company from falling apart, floor after floor, immaculate. Her frustration grew with each perfect surface. Then she reached the executive level, floor 42. In the CEO's office, she found it. A coffee stain on the corner of the mahogany desk. Small, barely visible, but there. Evidence. Rosa was in the hallway, finishing her last section, when Eleanor's voice cut through the silence like broken glass. "Who is responsible for this flaw?" Rosa turned calmly. "I am responsible, ma'am." What happened next made the security guard monitoring the cameras wince. Eleanor launched into a tirade about incompetence, about people like you, about how immigrants couldn't maintain proper standards, about how this stain represented everything wrong with declining work ethics in America. Her voice echoed through empty hallways. Rosa stood quietly, hands folded, waiting for the storm to pass. Then she did something that changed everything. Rosa didn't defend herself. She didn't argue. She simply said, "Ma'am, you're absolutely right. I'm responsible for that desk." Then she opened her worn notebook. Floor 42, desk 7, coffee spill discovered at 11:47 p.m., she read aloud. Wood finish requires 30-minute drying time before polishing to avoid streaking. Timer set. Completion scheduled for 6:10 am. She showed Eleanor the page, detailed notes, precise timestamps, 14 years of documentation. Eleanor's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Rosa continued, flipping pages. "You might also want to know that floor 15 has water damage behind the northwest wall. You can see the ceiling discoloration in office 1512. Your HVAC system runs inefficiently between 2 and 4 a.m., probably costing the company about $3,400 monthly. And there's a blind spot in the parking garage security cameras near the east entrance that creates a vulnerability. Page after page of observations, problems identified, solutions proposed, 14 years of expertise nobody had ever asked for. I take pride in my work, ma'am," Rosa said quietly, "even if nobody notices." Eleanor stood frozen. She'd spent millions on consultants who never caught what a janitor saw every single night, but the real shock was still coming. Eleanor's designer purse slipped from her trembling hand. Contents scattered across the floor, lipstick, phone, wallet, and a prescription bottle that rolled to Rosa's feet. Rosa bent to help, gathering items respectfully. When she picked up the prescription bottle, she paused, recognizing the medication name. "Is this for tremors?" Rosa asked gently. Eleanor's face went pale. "How do you know that?" "My grandson takes the same medication. He has cerebral palsy. It helps control his muscle movements." The walls Eleanor had spent 15 years building began to crack. Nobody knew about her early-stage Parkinson's diagnosis. Not her son, not her friends, only her neurologist. The tremors were still mild, barely noticeable, but the fear consumed her. Fear of losing control, losing independence, losing the sharp mind that had always been her greatest weapon. Those monthly inspections, the impossible standards, the employees she destroyed, it was all her trying to prove she was still sharp, still capable, still mattered. Every person she'd fired was because she saw her own terror reflected back, the fear of becoming useless. "The medication, does it help your grandson?" Eleanor whispered. Rosa's answer was honest. "When we can afford it consistently, yes." Eleanor processed this. The woman standing before her earned maybe $30,000 a year. The medication probably cost hundreds monthly. Rosa was choosing which weeks her grandson got treatment. In that moment, Eleanor Blackwell, who'd built fortresses out of designer clothes and cutting remarks, realized she was looking at someone richer than she'd ever be. Eleanor didn't apologize immediately. Instead, she did something she hadn't done in 15 years. She sat down, right there in the CEO's office, in her $4,500 suit. Eleanor Blackwell sat in her son's chair and looked truly human for the first time anyone could remember. "How long have you worked here?" she asked. 14 years, ma'am." "In 14 years, has anyone from management ever asked about your notebook?" Rosa's answer was simple. No, ma'am, I'm just the cleaning lady. That phrase hit Eleanor like cold water, just the cleaning lady. Why didn't you ever apply for other positions here? Eleanor asked. Rosa met her eyes. Ma'am, people see the uniform, not the person. I applied 6 times in my first 2 years, never got a single interview. The truth landed hard. I've walked past you hundreds of times. I never once saw you. Eleanor was about to do something she hadn't done in 15 years, and it would change both their lives forever. I need to apologize, Eleanor said, her voice stripped of its usual command. Not because it fixes anything, but because you deserve to hear it. She took a breath. I spoke to you with disrespect. I made assumptions about your intelligence, your worth, your capabilities based on your uniform and your accent. I did this because I've been so terrified of my own declining health that I've been trying to prove I'm still superior to someone, anyone. Her hands shook slightly. You are not just anything, you're exceptional, and I've been cruel. Rosa didn't immediately forgive. I appreciate you saying that, ma'am, but words need to match actions. I've heard executives apologize before. She held Eleanor's gaze. If you mean it, prove it by changing how you see people like me, not just today, but every day. Eleanor nodded slowly. You're right, tell me how. What happened over the next 3 months would prove that real change isn't a moment. It's 1,000 small choices. The transformation didn't happen overnight. In week 1, Eleanor reviewed every observation in Rosa's notebook. She brought in structural engineers who confirmed the water damage. They fixed the HVAC system. Rosa's suggestions saved the company $47,000 in the first month alone. By week 3, Eleanor arranged a meeting with HR. She proposed a new position, Facilities Operations Analyst. Salary, $68,000. Rosa's concern was immediate. I don't have the American credentials. Eleanor's response, you have 14 years of documented expertise. We'll support you getting your CPA while you work. In month 2, Eleanor established the Sterling Excellence Initiative, a program where every employee, regardless of position, could submit improvement observations. Rosa's detailed facilities report became the template, and in month 3, Eleanor took personal action. She hired Rosa as a consultant for a comprehensive facilities audit, paying her enough to cover 2 years of Javier's therapy. Rosa almost refused, unwilling to accept charity, but Eleanor framed it differently. This isn't charity. This is payment for work nobody else can do. Your dignity stays intact. Rosa accepted. If this story is proving that respect has nothing to do with job titles, and that real character shows up in how we treat people when nobody's watching, do 3 things right now. Smash that like button to push this message further. Comment the word respect if you believe everyone deserves dignity. And share this with someone who needs to remember their worth isn't defined by their paycheck. Subscribe, because we're building a community that values people over positions. Your engagement literally changes lives. 6 months later, Rosa had passed 2 sections of the CPA exam. Her efficiency recommendations had saved Sterling Tech $340,000. She'd been promoted to operations manager and moved from her studio to a 2-bedroom apartment where Javier could visit. Eleanor publicly disclosed her Parkinson's diagnosis, reducing stigma and fear. She learned the names of every building staff member. Her monthly ritual changed. Instead of inspections, she had coffee with different departments, listening to custodians, security guards, mailroom workers. Company culture transformed. Employee satisfaction scores rose 34%. She also launched the Rosa Initiative, a credential recognition program for immigrant workers, covering education costs for employees pursuing professional licenses. In the first year, 17 employees enrolled. 3 were promoted to professional positions. 12 other companies adopted similar programs, but the most powerful change happened in a moment nobody else witnessed. Late one evening, Eleanor returned to the office and found Rosa working on a quarterly report. Eleanor brought 2 coffees and sat down. I wanted to thank you, Eleanor said. What, Mrs. Blackwell? For being brave enough to see me as a person when I couldn't see you as one, for holding me accountable, for not accepting my apology until I proved I meant it. Rosa smiled. Mrs. Blackwell, I didn't do anything special. I just didn't let you make me forget my worth. Grandmother taught me, your value isn't in what people see, it's in what you know is true about yourself. Eleanor's voice cracked. I spent 30 years building walls with money and status because I thought that's what made me matter. You showed me that I mattered less in a $4,500 suit than you did in a cleaning uniform, because you knew who you were and I'd forgotten. They sat in silence, drinking coffee. Equals, Rosa Martinez never raised her voice, never demanded respect. Never tried to embarrass Eleanor Blackwell. She simply refused to shrink. She didn't fight power with power. She met pride with dignity. And in doing so, she revealed a truth that changes everything. The person who knows their worth doesn't need to announce it. The person who has real power doesn't need to wield it. And the person who truly sees others, sees past uniforms, past accents, past assumptions, that person changes the world one interaction at a time. In a corporate building in Manhattan, a janitor didn't defeat a billionaire's mother with clever words or public shamming. She defeated decades of entitlement by simply standing in her truth. And sometimes, that's the most powerful revolution of all. If Rosa's courage inspired you, like this video, comment dignity. If you believe your worth isn't determined by others' opinions, share with 3 people who need to remember their value today, and subscribe for more stories that restore faith in humanity. Special challenge. In the comments, share one time you stood up for your dignity. Let's build a thread of courage. Final thought. You are not your job title. You are not your bank account. You are what you know is true about yourself. Don't ever let anyone make you forget that.